Welcome to Watch, Review, Repeat. This is the podcast where two best friends discuss the latest in film and television and then do it all over again the following week. My name is Colton Brown, and joining me in the same room is Andrew Meadows.
Hello, Colton Brown. How are you today?
Well, we've done some shopping today, haven't we?
It's been a tiring day, to say the least. It's been a little busy. You came down a couple days ago. I had to work. No surprise there. And so we had a day to spend, and we spent it finishing up some Christmas shopping, running around to every department store on the face of the earth, I think.
I think we hit them all.
Yeah.
All in one good stretch. But it's okay because we're sitting here in the same room crushing some BLs, some Bud Lights, for those not in the know.
They were left over from a Christmas party.
And you know what? We're just having a good time. And it's pretty much almost Christmas, only a few days before Christmas when we're recording this. Hell, by the time this goes up, it'll probably either be Christmas or have already passed. So we might as well, in the spirit of having a Frozen episode, we might as well wish everyone a Merry Christmas while we're at it.
Merry Christmas, everyone.
So Merry Christmas. Hope everyone has a nice time, family, friends, however you want to spend it. Happy holidays if you don't celebrate Christmas as well, of course. But we are here celebrating the release of Frozen 2, which has now happened probably close to a month ago. We are still slowly but surely working our way back up to being caught up on all the releases. It's been a hectic month, as we talked about on the Knives Out episode, and unfortunately that trend has just continued. But I'm on vacation. Andrew is almost on vacation. He's one day of work away from being on vacation himself. And so, here we are. We made some time for Frozen 2 a little bit later than anticipated, but it's a movie I think that's worth talking about, and so maybe on the shorter side of things. We don't have a lot of news. Not sure how much we'll have to say about the movie. It's been a while since I've seen it, which I'll get into a little bit later, but regardless, it's a movie I think that's worth talking about. It's a movie that's certainly going to be worth seeing. So here we are. And we've got more coming. It's got some Star Wars.
We got a lot of movies
soon.
Coming. A lot of them coming.
We're going to do one big episode, hopefully on the franchise itself, and then follow that up with the Rise of Skywalker episode. We have seen it. We have had thoughts. We've had some conversations privately, internally, not recorded conversations, but we will be putting our thoughts on the record at some point. I think our hope is to see it a second time to kind of, maybe have a more well-rounded opinion on it.
Right. Expectations get put aside after the second
exactly.
viewing. Right.
Know what it is going in, recalibrate, see how it works at that point, and see if that influences your opinions, your feelings, anything like that. So that's the hope. That's the idea that we're trying to go for with our Star Wars stuff coming out. Hopefully soon. We'll have to make time for that as well, but we'll figure it out for sure. So anyway, Frozen 2. Andrew, do you have a fun fact about Frozen 2 you want to share?
This is the first Disney princess movie to get a sequel, or to get a theatrical release, to a sequel in theaters.
Oh, yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense.
There's plenty of sequel for Disney princess movies, but...
Right.
Yeah, so this is the first one, El Numero Uno.
El Numero Uno sequel.
I
yes. See. But El Numero Dos in the franchise.
Exactly.
The Frozen franchise.
I thought that was interesting.
That is very cool.
Yeah. Fun little tidbit. I got another tidbit. There's a song on here.
Yes.
That is sang with many different people, or many different voices, I should say. And all of them are technically one voice. I thought that was interesting, too.
It's not really a spoiler to say what song it is, I don't think.
No? What is it, Into the Woods?
Lost in the Woods, I believe is the name of the song. Yeah. And it's Jonathan Groff providing all those voices, right?
Yeah.
Mindhunter himself.
That's it. So, two little fun facts for Frozen 2.
Oh, I see what you're doing here. I see what's happening. All right, very cool. All right, well, like I said, we have very little in the way of news. News is weird, sometimes you get 50 pieces of news you want to talk about in a single episode, and then sometimes you just have 2 pieces of news. And today's episode's only going to have 2 pieces of news. We've got 2 trailers we're going to talk about for 2 movies I think that we are both looking forward to, movies that we will almost certainly be covering when they debut next year. So let's talk about one of those trailers right now. Andrew, what do you want to present to the listeners? What trailer do you have? Do you want to talk about?
Top Gun, dude. Top freaking Gun. Top Gun Maverick is the name of the movie, I should say.
Mm-hmm.
We got a second trailer.
Yep.
I thought it was the trailer that we recently saw, but it turns out that it was not.
Well, so we saw it. We saw Star Wars together in IMAX, and we saw this, and it was actually presented in the IMAX formatting too.
Right.
And
it was fucking good.
It's an excellent trailer, but like watching it that way was like next level, kind of like. Ooh.
Well, so what we watched in the living room just now is the same trailer. Or it's different.
I think it's a different trailer. Well, because there was a first trailer that came out a while back that we talked about before. So we have talked about this movie a little bit, and then we got a new trailer that had a little bit more. I feel like it had more of the dog fighting sequences and like the training sequences, because there's the part where he like goes up and like splits the two trainees or whatever.
Yeah,
because he's a fucking Maverick, man.
Fucking A.
And he's Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise probably actually did that shit.
I know you stole it from me. In the trailer there, it shows Tom Cruise jetting off from the fucking the aircraft carrier.
They just stuck a camera in the cockpit and they're like, "Have fun, Tom.
Hop in the fucking day's pilot and the shit." He's incredible. He's driving his motorcycle, smiling, racing the jet. Man, he's just living
Tom Cruise is a specimen, man.
He's just living his best life. What a stud.
Tom Cruise is he 50s now? He's got to be 50s, right?
He's in his 50s.
57. Yeah. Tom Cruise is 57. Man, looks so good, and he's just crushing it, man. Every movie that like he does, like I feel like he just puts his all into it, and I respect that. I mean, we got the fucking the back-to-back Mission Impossibles coming out.
Oh no, shit.
Soon enough. So it's like, yeah, I think they're like maybe 2021 and 2022, something like that. Yeah, they're maybe
a lot of running.
I think 2020 feels too soon because we're literally like a week away from it being 2020 at this point. So I don't think that it's going to be out that soon. But yeah, like Tom Cruise is just consistently on his A game, and we love him for it in spite of his personal zaniness.
Yeah. Unlimited power,
Unlimited power, correct. So Top Gun Maverick, June 26th, 2020. So we got half a year to wait on this one, but Tom Cruise looks like he's bringing the goods. He's going to be in it alongside Miles Teller, Jennifer Connelly, my boy John Hamm, and I think Val Kilmer will also be reprising his role, although we have not seen him in any of the trailers, which he...
And I still need to watch the original Top Gun. I've never seen it.
So that is something I think we will absolutely do.
Bonus episode? I
don't know if we would need to do a bonus episode. I think, honestly, we can probably just cover both at once. I feel like it's probably... Okay. It's one movie. There's
Top Gun.
I think it's going to be required viewing for watching this one. I mean, I think this movie will probably stand on its own. It'll probably honestly be kind of a Force Awakens type situation of a loosely... I imagine it's going to be beat for beat fairly similar, just more kind of updated for a new audience. But I think that fans of the original Top Gun will still appreciate it in the way that Star Wars fans still appreciated the Force Awakens, while acknowledging that it's kind of the same. Right?
Gotcha.
So I think, but I still think, I feel like it'd be kind of weird to just like, I don't like wandering into sequels having not watched the first one. I feel like that's a little...
Yeah, no, I won't do that.
So
we'll
definitely watch the first one, and then we'll go see the second one. We'll talk about it sometime around June 26th.
Very nice.
I have one trailer for... What even is this movie? Boy, we'll have to talk about it. But Tenet, the next film from Christopher Nolan, has received an official trailer. There was the weird kind of... I don't think you... did we talk about... I don't know if you saw it or not. So they had a theater-only trailer that came out with Hobbs and Shaw, I think back in August, but it was like a 30-second kind of little teaser thing. And I think I told you about it.
Was it something to do with the bullets coming through the window?
Yeah, it was. Okay. But it was pretty much that and like a couple other like little shots, but it was mostly just the John David Washington character just like looking at bullet holes in glass.
Yeah, okay.
And so now we have an official trailer which shows us a lot more footage. I'm not sure that it shows us a whole lot more in terms of what the fuck this movie is, though, if that makes sense. Like, what's your sense of this so far? Good, bad? Do you know what's going on? Do you like it? What's up?
It's I think it's like it's certainly got something to do with time, right? It's like a time cop situation or something. Or
like the car is like reversing as it flips. And so there's clearly some sort of time manipulation aspect to it, but I don't know how that works. Like, I don't know if it's a device that's controlling that or... I don't know.
No,
like I said, I like it's intriguing, and I think it looks.
Whoever's doing the score, I don't the score.
The trailer was bomb in terms of score.
Yeah. Hopefully we get some of that in the movie. But I imagine you will. I mean, if it's a Nolan movie, his scores are always on point.
I imagine Hans Zimmer is probably already working on it as we speak.
Yeah. But yeah, it looks...
no. I stand corrected. I just happened to look it up.
Who is it?
Hans Zimmer is not working on this. It is Ludwig Göransson, who has done excellent work, Mandalorian most recently, and Black Panther.
Yeah.
He's done some others.
Didn't he finish up the 2049? Or is that a different guy? Or is that Hans Zimmer that finished that up?
I think Zimmer worked on 49. Okay, so yeah, he's collaborated with Ryan Coogler a lot, so he did Creed and Creed 2, I think.
Okay.
So yeah, and Black Panther, like I said. So yeah, but all of his scores that I've heard have been excellent, so that's a good pick too. And it's honestly, I'm honestly kind of excited to see a Nolan movie without Hans Zimmer involved.
I'm just excited to see a Nolan movie.
True.
He puts out some good stuff.
Dunkirk was the last one, right?
Yeah, which kicked off the podcast, I think.
True. That is very true.
So yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It looks super intriguing. That's 5, or I don't know how long it was, the sneak peek or whatever it was in the IMAX.
Yeah, so there's the official trailer that came out, which is on YouTube and everything, and then IMAX showings of The Rise of Skywalker. They put the Tenet prologue, as they actually called it, and it was about like a 5-minute.
Well, there was a time deal in that too.
Yeah,
at one particular point.
Yeah, I'm sure you could probably find it if you search the corners of the internet, but I don't think it's intended to be a put up on YouTube kind of thing. More of a reward for fans that choose the IMAX version of Star Wars and stuff,
as it should be,
like
watched.
us.
Yeah.
And yeah, Nolan is huge on his IMAX thing. I think that it was probably filmed honestly with the IMAX cameras, because I know he tinkered with them a lot for The Dark Knights, and I'm not sure how Dunkirk was shot, to be honest, but I know it was at least presented, I think, in 70mm, and I think this is going to be the same way.
70-35 in IMAX, I think, is what this particular trailer said.
Right. Yeah. So I don't know. It looks interesting. I mean, we can definitely say it looks interesting. I realize that kind of says nothing in and of itself, but I also feel like this trailer doesn't give you enough to I don't think it gives you a good sense of like what the movie's about. It just gives you a sense of like, oh, this is going to be a stylish Nolan flick. And like, honestly, like, I'm not sure what more you could really ask for.
It sounds like a Mission Impossible situation. They're trying to fight in Armageddon or prevent a war or something.
And I've seen a lot of comparisons like, oh, is this more in the vein of Inception? I'd say yeah, based on the trailer. Seems closer to that than I think. I mean, it's obviously closer to an Inception than it is to a Dunkirk, for example.
Absolutely.
But I think just in general, like if you had to pull one movie out of Nolan's filmography, it definitely feels closer to that of, I mean, even if it is just literally a unconnected to anything else kind of action flick that kind of plays with,
it's totally okay.
Some interesting weird concepts. And if this ends up being time and not dreams or something like that, then yeah, that's cool. So yeah. John David Washington, Robert Pattinson, Batman's going to be in it. Elizabeth Debicki, Michael Caine. We saw Michael Caine in the trailer. Michael Caine. And yeah. So good cast, and Nolan back in the saddle. July 17th, 2020. So this one's actually only a few weeks after Top Gun.
Very nice.
Yeah, that'll be a good stretch month right there. Yeah, there's probably some movies in between that will probably be worth checking out, but not that I'm aware of at the moment. Anyway, that is it for the news. I know everyone's thinking, well, okay, all right, well, why can't you guys do this more often? Yeah, so there's really nothing else that we can dwell on. We might as well just hop right into the Frozen. The Frozen 2, written by Jennifer Lee, directed by Chris Buck and Jennifer Lee, stars the returning voice talents of Kristen Bell, Idina Menzel, Josh Gad, the aforementioned Jonathan Groff, alongside some newcomers, Sterling K. Brown, Evan Rachel Wood, and Alfred Molina. So, of course, this is a sequel to the movie called Frozen, for anyone unaware. I'm sure everyone was aware. But the synopsis, some of these characters you might have a little bit familiarity with, so bear with me. Elsa, Anna, Kristoff, Olaf, and Sven embark on a journey beyond their kingdom of Arendelle in order to discover the origin of Elsa's magical powers and save their kingdom after a mysterious voice calls out to Elsa. What does it mean? What does it mean? You'll find out if you watch the movie.
That's it.
You just gotta watch the movie.
Or if you listen to the spoiler section.
Or if you listen to the spoiler section, we'll probably touch on it a little bit. That's true. Let's talk box office because, ooh, buddy, this is crushing the box office.
Is it a foreign thing? We'll talk about it.
It's an everything thing.
An everything
I think it's doing exceptionally well in all markets. It does appear. Now, to be fair, like the first Frozen crossed $1 billion and like was a smash hit. I think I don't know if it's still true, but it was like one of the highest grossers in Japan. Like it's just like kind of like a isolated foreign territory where like it did like phenomenally well, like abnormally well.
And that's why I was wondering if this was like the similar situation.
Yeah, no, this one seems to be kind of hot on the heels of what the first one did. I think it's probably a little bit up in terms of domestic because it's still got, as of recording this, it still has Christmas to play out. And this is somewhat jumping ahead and somewhat of a preview of us kicking another movie, which we can probably keep as a recurring joke from this point on. But Cats bombed. Just want to point it out. Cats totally bombed big time.
That should have been in the news.
And it's there we go. We're covering it. It's the pseudo news section. But yeah, so Cats did worse than Frozen 2 did, and it's like fourth weekend and it's opening weekend, which is more to say that Cats bombed again. Just in case anyone wasn't clear, it bombed.
It's so bad that they're patching the movie.
It's so bad they're literally releasing a patch to the movie. Well, I don't know if you saw. We're gonna get on a tangent. We've got time. Apparently, the state of the movie as they released it in theaters, Cats we're talking about. There's scenes where like they didn't render some of the cat parts, and so there were just human parts, like just wearing like the black suits that they had been wearing on set. And it's like,
what?
And I saw something about the director saying that they had been working on the visual effects until literally the day before it was in theaters, and clearly that was true, and clearly they've worked on it a little bit more since, but it's just kind of like,
how is that logistically possible?
I mean, most theaters get like things through like digital transmissions these days, so it's less about sending the physical hard drive and more just like
updating the fucking
kind
file.
of. But it's like it's really wild. I've never seen anything like it, heard anything like it.
Unprecedented, according to the article I read.
Yeah,
nobody's ever done anything like that before.
I guess it's a good thing that they're fixing something that's like an obvious mistake, but like I still cannot fucking understand why anyone thought it was a good idea to release against Star Wars. Maybe it would have bombed in any time slot, but
just get it out so it doesn't affect the fiscal year the following year.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know.
We can write it off.
I don't know. I think they're hoping that the Christmas business will drum up as Christmas itself happens in the holidays and kids are out for school. And
hey, kids, let's go watch Cats.
Let's go watch Cats. There's no other movies out that we want to watch, right? Like there's what's that? We're gonna go see a Star Wars. Or even Frozen, man. Like, Frozen is absolutely a better pick for families or anyone, really, than Cats would be. So anyway, I digress. Box office-wise for Frozen 2, we're talking about Frozen 2 now. Its opening weekend, it delivered a $130.2 million opening weekend, which registered as the number one for the weekend. In addition, it is the best November opening for an animated film ever, domestically. And it debuted with $352.2 million worldwide in its opening worldwide debut, which is a new record for any animated movie ever. Man. So in terms of worldwide, it's setting a new record there. Total box office as it stands, almost a month into its run, $386.5 million domestically, and it has crossed $1 billion worldwide. It's about $1.1 billion worldwide, and I think it's going to keep climbing. It might. I think this is also jumping ahead. It might outgrow Star Wars, to be honest.
Man.
So we'll have to see how that plays out, certainly. But this is the kind of movie that has legs, and it will continue to have legs. And I think it's a Frozen movie, snow and stuff like that. It just kind of conveys that Christmas kind of spirit in a way, even if it's not explicitly a Christmas movie. It has that sort of feel, just I think by virtue of the subject matter. So yes, doing very well on the box office front, did very well I think on the critical front, not as well as the first one, I don't think, but
I think that'd probably be fair. That's okay.
Well, let's get into it then. Non-spoilers. We'll start with non-spoilers. It's been it's probably been at least a week and a half since I've seen it, just admittedly. So I might be a little sketchy on details. I think it's at least been probably a week or close to a week for you as well. So we're a little hazier than we usually like to be, but timing, it is what it is. We've kind of talked about it already ad nauseum. So what did you think about Frozen 2?
That was really good. It drew a little tear, like one single little sad little tear. at one particular part.
Okay.
Which is good. So it drew
Maybe
emotion.
We'll talk about it.
We saw it in the Zephyr Hills Cinema. I didn't get it in a premium format, which is, I feel like I did myself a disservice, but it was convenient for everybody to go, so that's okay. And it was really good. I thought that the pacing in the beginning was I don't know, I feel like the beginning was a little stretched thin, or it was just longer than what it needed to be. It just didn't feel as snappy as it could have been, I guess I should say. But once it got started, once they left the kingdom, it was a solid pace from there on out. And good scores, really good songs, creatively made. I think they did a lot of things to make it really interesting as far as how they shot the characters and stuff while they sang the songs. I thought the content was interesting, just the different things that they deal with when they leave Arendelle. And I think it was really interesting to see a lot of the characters grow. I think the character growth was awesome. So, in a nutshell, that's what I've got.
Okay.
Keep it.
Well, when's the last time you saw the first one? Like, before you watched this? Like, did you rewatch it?
No, while.
So it's been a while. Okay.
Yeah, over a year.
Because it's on Disney Plus now in 4K, I might add.
Very nice.
So I rewatched it. I actually rewatched it kind of over the Thanksgiving break. So it'd probably been a few weeks since I'd watched the first one before I walked into the theater to see this one. I did see it in Dolby Cinema. Highly recommend seeing it in a premium format. I think at this point your options are going to be non-existent, I guess, because I think Star Wars is probably dominating all those. Understandably so. But I did get a chance to at least see it when it was offered in that format, and I really, really enjoyed it. I felt like it really took advantage of the formatting of it.
Sure. The audio and the colors. And
absolutely.
Stuff, sure.
It for
Animated
sure pops the audio, and you know there was enough kind of beats within the movie that there's kind of the integrated like kind of rumble technology into the Dolby seats, and then like it took advantage of it in surprising ways, which I appreciated. So I have seen it pretty recently, the first one. I've also seen the second one pretty recently. That's why we're talking about it. I really enjoyed it. I guess I kind of wasn't expecting to enjoy it as much as I would, because it's one of those things. I think movies like this can be tough in the sense that I think the first Frozen wasn't written with a sequel in mind. You know what I mean? And it did exceptionally well, crushed the box office as we've talked about. And it was a matter of time for them to make it. But what I appreciated is that this came out, I think, 6 years after the first one did.
So it's really? Holy shit.
It's been a long time. And so they didn't just like pump one out because we had to, like it really
was a
felt
story
like
to be told. Right?
Yeah, and it really felt like they took their time to craft a story that felt like it wasn't just a repetition of the first one.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's what I liked about this one, is that it really does stand on its own. It does represent, I think, kind of as you alluded to, an evolution for these characters, a maturation of these characters as they move forward in their life. And the nice thing is, it's the same characters that we saw. They're in a very different spot by the end of Frozen 1, which puts them in unprecedented territory in terms of how we've seen these characters interact moving forward.
And then by the end of this movie, they're in a totally different situation.
And it still allows them to have their own journeys within this movie that then put them in even different spots. Right, absolutely. And I think it all feels natural. It feels very cool. I think kind of the lore that they kind of developed around it all is pretty interesting. And I think the story. I think that's kind of what I'm saying, is this movie needed a story, I think, for it to work.
Right.
I think that's the only reason this movie should have existed, is if we've cracked the story, and I think they did it. I really think they found like a new angle to take with the franchise, and I appreciated that.
Right. Too often with stories, maybe in future episodes we'll talk about it. Sometimes there's a story that maybe sometimes you push a story out a little too soon. Maybe it's not as fleshed out as it should be, and this is not the case. I think this is it's a very well realized telling of the characters and stuff. It was good. Yeah, very solid.
So I really appreciated what it did with the story, how it moved the characters. I think that's why the movie works as well as it does. And I think also there's the obvious thing to talk about, which is this is an incredible looking film.
Beautiful.
I don't know if you could appreciate it in your Zephyr Hills cinema, to be honest, but I mean, the animation technology here is fucking wild.
I didn't get...
It's I don't know if it's quite Dragon Sand-esque, but
okay.
it's
that's what I was going to say.
I think it's more consistent, like it's close to that, but like the entire way through. And like, again, I saw it in, I guess, basically what would be HDR technology with the Dolby stuff.
That's going to help a lot.
So it really, really did pop, but it looked incredible. The animation was just so astonishing, and like the technology, like even watching the first Frozen, which looks really good, you know, even in that 6-year gap, you get such a massive leap in technology, which we did see that with the Dragon movies, the How to Train Your Dragon movies, especially. That
was massive.
From 1 to 3, that was even
ridiculous.
Bigger of a gap for sure.
I couldn't catch any, you know, I went in because this is I guess it's the, aside from Dragons, it's the next animated film that we caught in theaters. I don't think we've watched anything recently.
Yeah, I don't think so, no.
Yeah,
right.
So I went in hoping to, you know, pick it apart detail by detail just from the technology from the Dragons movie, but I couldn't. The fidelity wasn't there in the screen and stuff, which kind of sucked. The sound mixing was also not on point, but I got the story. For, you know, don't get me, it wasn't as technical as it should have been just because of the theater I saw it at, but yeah, it looked pretty from what I could tell, but like I said, the fidelity was not there.
I see. Well, I can definitely say from my experience, the fidelity in terms of the film itself, it was there. Just unfortunate that
it was elevated because of where you were watching it.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely thrived in that format. I think the soundtrack is excellent. I think it's minimally on par with the first one's soundtrack, which is one that I've listened to quite frequently. I've listened to the second soundtrack quite frequently as well, because I saw it. I can't remember the exact timeline. I think I saw it after the first exam that I took, so I had 2 more exams to take after that. So it was a good study aid to listen to some Into the Unknown, some Lost in the Woods, and so I appreciated the soundtrack. I think I've appreciated it more. Like, this is the movie that I kind of want to see again, because like now that I'm a little bit more familiar with the soundtrack and stuff, like I do feel like it's a very rewatchable kind of film.
Sure.
So yeah. Technical merits, I think, are all there. I think the voice cast, returning voice cast in particular, continue to excel. Kristen Bell is great as Anna. Idina Menzel is always a standout. Her voice as Elsa is incredible. Her voice in general is incredible, but lending that to Elsa really, really adds a lot to that character. Adds a lot to the songs that she's in and stuff like that. And Jonathan Groff, all the voices that he's providing is quite excellent. So appreciate his contributions, and Josh Gad, Olaf. I think Olaf is kind of the, he's the source of humor for most of the entire movie.
He
I
gets
think
one song that I thought was pretty great.
That was a good one. That was a good song that he was in. I don't think there's a bad song in the bunch.
No, they're. I don't know. It's
like, I think the first one has like the troll one, and I'm like, okay, you know what I mean? And like, I don't think I didn't feel that way with like any of the ones in this. Like, I think it's really kind of consistently pretty good in terms of songs. You know, like some are a little bit more like, oh, this is awesome. Like I really do enjoy Lost in the Woods as like a song in and of itself. But I think even if this movie doesn't have, I think, the Let It Go-esque type. I
think it does, though.
I think it does. I just don't think it's hitting that. And I don't know the name of the song. Pop culture.
Probably not.
I think Into the Unknown, I think, is what is being positioned as the Let It Go equivalent for this film.
Is that the one?
There's also one that's called Show Yourself, which I think also, those are both the Idina-centric, the Elsa-centric songs.
Okay, yeah, no. The one that really got me was the one the sister sang. She's in the cave.
Yeah, I feel like that's probably Show Yourself.
Is that what that is?
I think so. But again, it's been a little while since I've seen it. So, any other thoughts on this? Cast great, music great, visuals great. We'll just go ahead and slide into recommendation. We might as well. I think it's a really good family film too. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? I think this is a great all audiences kind of film. It is. I think as the first one did, it strikes the right balance of catering to adults and kids alike. Mm-hmm. I guess on the same token, I guess if you didn't like the first one, I'm not sure that this is going to do you. No. It's a different movie. It is a different movie. It is not absolutely not the same movie, but it is the same characters in different situations. So I think that if the first one wasn't for you, I'm not sure that this is the kind of movie that will convince you otherwise. But as someone that loved the first one, saw it 4 times in theaters, for the record, worked at a theater for that time, to be fair. So I didn't exactly pay for all those times, but I loved the first one. I was a huge fan of the first one. And again, I was, I guess, apprehensive of this one in the sense of, well, what is this? What new does this bring? And it definitely lived up beyond my expectations of feeling less like a perfunctory sequel and one that is perfectly deserving of its place. Yeah. So I guess in terms of recommendation, it's a theater rec for me, for sure.
And it sounds like you benefit from the best format.
Yeah, you know, and I think at this point you're probably shit out of luck again if you're trying to look for a Dolby or an IMAX showing because of Star Wars, big bad Star Wars. But certainly even minimally just going to less of a rinky-dink theater is probably.
I can tell you I experienced a very good movie despite being in a smaller theater. Yeah. So
I think you could still find a good presentation.
The story's there. You go to the ultimately you go to the movie theater.
Ultimately, you probably enjoy it regardless. But if you want to maximize, I think your enjoyment, I think that you should seek out.
You can appreciate
the best way to view it,
the elevated format for sure.
Sure. So theater recommendation for Frozen 2. Let's talk some full spoilers for Frozen 2. You got a little weepy at a moment. Is that what you said?
A little weepy.
All right, tell me about it.
When she was in the cave.
I see.
She was in the cave. Her sister's presumed dead, and she's stuck in a cave by herself. Olaf's melted. She's by herself, and to this point, across 2 movies, she's been very dependent on her sister. She's always wanted her sister. She's always needed her sister, and now her sister's gone. Her friend is gone. Everything that she's known is gone. You know, and she has to find the drive to get out of. She's in a low point, a low dark point. Figuratively and literally, you know? So she has to climb out of the hole that she's in, literally and figuratively, and figure out a way to press forward and solve the problem. And she does it. And I think that was a super good story to tell. I really enjoyed that a whole lot. And that's what made me teary-eyed when she climbed out of the cave. That was a very good poetic little deal that they did there.
That was good. You know what was some badass shit in this movie? What are you thinking?
I was going to say the fucking water horse.
Hell yeah, the fucking water horse. That was some badass shit. Elsa's letting her hair down, and then she's fucking riding around on this badass water horse.
Fucking makes a chain, like a fucking thing for the horse, like the stirrups for the horse out of like icicles. I was like, I was not expecting this out of a Frozen 2, but I'm eating this shit up. Cool.
I quite enjoy this.
It's very cool.
That was. I think that was my most badass moment in the film, was just her riding around and like fucking stopping the flood from the dam breaking.
It was cool. Yeah, racing to stop the flood from wiping
there was
out Arendelle.
there's something really intense. Like those are the kind of moments that really take advantage of the Dolby sound and feel like it's like, oh, I'm here. I'm in this.
Right.
I really appreciated that. I gotta say, this is just completely unrelated. I enjoyed that there really wasn't a traditional villain in this. And I think the first one did a good job of kind of eschewing traditional villain tropes as well, because the first one has, it's been a while, so I'm mostly explaining it to you, even though you probably remember some of it. And we can also assume that some of our listeners maybe haven't seen it in a while either. Anna, she has this prince that comes into town and tries to court her, and they're going to get married after they've known each other for 5 minutes and stuff like that. And it turns out that he's the villain of the movie. Basically, he's just trying to marry into power because he's like the 14th in line in his own kingdom or something like that.
Okay.
And so he's a real dick, and basically thinks he's letting Anna die because she gets struck by one of Elsa's spells, and she has a frozen heart. I know, it's sad. and she can only be saved by an act of love. So Anna's act of love is to save her sister.
Yeah.
So that, again, first Frozen is excellent. I am not, anything that I say isn't to say that the first Frozen is not excellent.
No, 4 times in theaters.
I think it's a wonderful, wonderful film. Great ending. It's a really, really good flick overall. But this one kind of, it really just does a different thing, and I appreciated that about it. And one of those things, again, that I appreciated is that it didn't have a traditional villain, in the sense that, like, even though the first one kind of held back on its traditional villain until about the third act, then it kind of turned into that where, oh, that's the bad guy. There wasn't a Jafar, throughout the movie, or there wasn't a Maleficent throughout the movie, or
whatever,
or Ursula. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
This one, I guess it kind of, I think there's hints at the beginning of, I guess their dad's a bit of a dick. Like, he's a bit of a douche. Isn't he kind of the reason for why the forest gets, like, sealed off or whatever?
And I think there's a lot of really interesting, tropes in this movie. Since you brought it up that it was 6 years apart from the first movie, I think it was a really interesting thing. I didn't think about it up until you said that it's been 6 years since they released the first one. But 6 years is a big gap. The little kids that enjoyed the first movie, naturally, they're going to want to go see the second movie, right?
But they're a bit older.
But they're 6 years older. Mm-hmm. Now they're going to be more mature. And then the Olaf song makes more sense about, hey, listen, it's going to make sense when I'm an adult. Also dealing with loss and everything else, you know what I mean? And so it deals with a little bit of darker material there, and also dealing with the dad that turns out to be a dickhead.
It was the granddad. I just
the grandfather.
Double checked. So it was the grandfather.
But we're watching another show that deals with this too. You're told things about particular people, and they put them on a pedestal, and there's a certain spotlight for certain people, and this and that. But sometimes, whenever your heroes don't turn out to be the people that you think they are,
right?
And it's all interesting content matter for people that are 6 years older to kind of grapple with.
Yeah, and that's a good point.
Yeah, and I think it's really interesting that it's dealing with the sort of stuff it deals with.
No, that's an interesting kind of take on it. I was just thinking more literally traditionally of, like, you didn't have that mustache twirling villain that just kind of tries to chew scenery. Like, you had, like, there is the revelation of the grandfather being, I guess, the source of the conflict, but he's not really a character in this movie.
No, you're dealing with the blood of your fathers kind of situation.
Exactly. It's them kind of realizing that and recognizing that and reacting to it, but it's not them literally reacting to it. It's them kind of thinking, this is the legacy. How do we fix this? Like, what's the constructive way to fix this situation? And that's the conflict of the story is, right. How do we fix this? How do we make this right? How do we make this better? So I think that was kind of a really interesting way to take it. And I appreciated that, because I think not every movie needs to have, especially not in a movie like this, a Disney movie, a Disney princess movie, if you wanted to classify it as such, you kind of expect that, right? You kind of expect that to be the traditional storyline that they'll offer, and this didn't feel like that at all. Like, it really did feel not even almost like a subversion of that, but just really just like that's just not the story we wanted to tell. We wanted to do something different, and we just fucking did it. Yeah, and they did it well, and so that's one of the things I really appreciated about
the lore. Was another really cool thing. The different elements and the spirits of the forest and
the spirits, elements and stuff like that.
It's really cool.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I enjoed the little salamander creature too.
Yeah,
it was fun.
The fire spirit.
Yeah. So, like I said, I wish I had seen it more recently. I definitely intend to see this a second time. I think I mentioned as much already, but I really, really enjoyed it.
Is that for real cinemas playing?
I don't think I need to see it that desperately. But I think it's one that I think it's one that'll hold up. For sure.
Sure.
You know what I mean? I think this will...
The Dragon movie holds up. And how old is that?
Definitely.
Toy Story holds up. And how old is that?
I think because of the story, as we've kind of hammered home, I think the story sells it. And
you can watch a black and white movie from the 40s. If it's got a good story, there's always something there to watch.
I think the important thing is this won't feel like a lesser version of the first one.
You watched them back to back.
Yeah, and I'm saying that now, and I feel confident in saying that, in the sense that it's a different movie. It's comfortably a different movie, and I think that's why it works so well. Mm-hmm. And I think that you may like the first movie better, you may like the second movie better. Like, I honestly don't think it matters. Like, I think they're both really good versions of what they try to do,
and they're different stories.
And what they're trying to do is different. Mm-hmm. And I think that's great. I think I harp on it. I think a lot on this podcast. I hate when sequels do the same thing. And there are... I love The Force Awakens. Again, it did enough, I think, to make it a little bit different, and that's something maybe we'll talk about hopefully soon on a franchise-related bonus episode for Star Wars. But, I think that this one was... I appreciated the filmmaker's confidence to just do something different instead of playing it safe and playing it, let's just make the most clinical version of this movie that we know that everyone's going to enjoy because it's the same movie. And I said maybe that alienates some people, maybe it doesn't. I think the critic reception is a little bit lower than it was for the first one. Not significantly. I think it's still
I never even talked about
stuff, but
the pacing in the beginning.
Oh, okay. Yeah, go ahead.
So I think if I remember right, and I don't remember a whole lot, I remember thoroughly enjoying first Frozen, but if I remember right, the first movie is little baby Elsa finding out that she has these powers and stuff, and like the majority of the beginning of the whole first act is like their progression to almost like their teenage years, right?
Yeah. It kind of builds up with, do you want to build a snowman as their kids? And then they find out Elsa has the powers, and basically the parents separate them. And so Anna is kind of always thinking like, well, why can't I play with my sister?
Yeah.
And then it kind of opens up. The story kind of opens up once they're older.
And it felt like a very organic way to start the movie. Like I said, when this movie started, I don't know. I struggled to get into it until after they left. When they left, I was 110% in, because it is a fabulous movie. It's very good. But I would critique the first little bit there of the movie.
Yeah. Well, and I don't know that I had any issues with the pacing in terms of it, but I did, I guess, as a follow-on thought to that, I appreciated that they did open it up in terms of setting. I thought that was really cool.
It's totally awesome.
I think that was partially why I think the story felt different, is that it wasn't just a case of
in the castle again.
Yeah.
Right.
And they really spent most of this movie in this forest or with the tribe or whatever it is that is there. Right. That's been stuck within this forest for so long.
And does a really good job of exploring the world of Frozen or whatever the world is.
Yeah. It was a nice expansion of not only the lore, but also just settings and stuff like that. Yeah. I think just physical settings. I think it did a good job of kind of capturing that aspect as well, and breathing a little bit more life into it. Mm-hmm. I enjoyed that. I
don't have a whole lot more.
What's your favorite song?
Well, you
probably haven't listened to it as religiously as myself. I understand.
No, just the movie.
Off the cuff. What do you got?
So, my favorite, I think the most entertaining song that made me, I don't know, just the most I don't know. The most emotional song's the one with her in the cave. The song that made me laugh the most was the song with the reindeer, Lost in the Woods. I thought that was fucking hysterical. I love that song. And then I really enjoyed the Olaf song, where this all makes sense when I'm older.
This will all make sense when I am older.
And there's all this fucking chaos. There's like these spirits and fucking stuff flying around in the forest and whatnot. He's like, okay, I don't know what's going on. That was funny.
Yeah, that one's good.
So those are my 3 favorite songs. I don't know if I could boil it down to 2 or 1. I mean, but
yeah.
What's your favorite song?
Favorite's tough. I think Into the Unknown is kind of like, I think it's going to be the quintessential song from this movie, and so I really appreciate that.
That's the one where she's...
It's the one where she's responding to the voice as she's, like, early in the movie.
Yeah, okay. Yeah. Where she's on the balcony.
She's on the balcony, yeah.
Right, okay.
And it kind of opens up. I think that's like the Let It Go equivalent. Again, I think at least they're positioning it as such.
Right.
I think Show Yourself, which is I think the one you're talking about in the cave, is an excellent one. And but I unabashedly just really enjoy Lost in the Woods, which is the
and it's got a ballin' music
Kristoff
video.
and Sven one. Yeah.
It's like straight up music video.
I love that. Like as soon as it like kind of transitioned out, I'm like, oh, I'm so into this. I love this. That was great. Soundtrack's awesome, so highly recommend. There's again, I don't think there's a loser in the bunch. Even the Panic at the Disco cover of Into the Unknown ain't bad, I gotta say.
I didn't even catch up.
It was the first song in the credits, because there actually was an after credit scene. I assume you did not stick around for it, unsurprisingly. I don't think anyone really realized what it was. I can barely remember it, but I think it's literally like Olaf. So there's a scene in the movie where Olaf like summarizes the entire events of everything.
Yeah, it was great.
It's the same thing, except he does it for the events of this movie.
Oh, okay.
So it's kind of, it's a cute thing, but it's like, well, I didn't really need to sit through 10 minutes of credits for that kind of thing. But it was fun. But I listened to the credit songs as I was waiting for that, and there's three covers of the songs from the soundtrack by major musical artists. So Panic at the Disco did Into the Unknown. Casey Musgraves did All Is Found, which is like the lullaby, like hymn that the mother does.
Did. Yeah.
and then Weezer did a cover of Lost in the Woods, which is pretty good too. 'Cause like I listen to the Weezer song, I'm like this feels like kind of classic Weezer in a way. It's cool. I enjoy it. So, yeah, I don't really have any other questions or comments. I think we've covered it. I think it's safe to say this is definitely worth your time. I think it's going to be hanging out in theaters for a good while. I think just by the fact that it's done so well. So if you're looking for something to watch on Christmas, if you've seen Star Wars already, if it's something that doesn't interest you, you've got kids or something like that, I think Frozen 2 is your answer. I really do. So highly, highly, highly recommend it. And I believe Andrew would agree with me on that sentiment as well. So yeah, that's Frozen 2. Andrew, have you been up to anything exciting lately?
I've been up to a lot of exciting things.
Oh, hello.
I picked you up at TIA instead of Orlando.
Yes.
Which is pretty
Tampa.
fucking nice.
TIA, is it?
Tampa International Airport?
I think the 3-letter acronym is TPA technically, but regardless, Tampa International Airport. I think it is, yeah. It doesn't matter. It's beside the point.
Are you sure?
I'm pretty sure. Pretty sure.
I don't know. We'll talk about... Well, I don't know. I got to figure that out, though. Anyways, picked you up in Tampa instead of Orlando, which was nice.
A little bit closer.
I did have to work a little bit. I haven't been the best host in the world. We spent the day shopping today to finish up Christmas shopping, which is...
Well, it's right around the corner, isn't it?
Admittedly exhausting. But I have provided you with an unlimited supply of Bud Light, which is also... It's great.
I just managed to spill a bunch of it on myself, which honestly is probably a blessing in disguise. Really, but I've been trying to cut down on that little supply you've got in your fridge drawer.
Cutting it down, it'll be gone by the time you're gone. We started a awesome show that I don't think we'd mind talking about. I wouldn't mind talking about it if we want to do an episode.
Finish it out a little bit. We might do an episode later on, but we're only 3 out of 8 in, so there's plenty left to discuss.
That's it
and such. So
we're 3 in The Witcher.
Why don't you tee it up?
3 in The Witcher on Netflix.
On Netflix,
and it's I
digging it.
I'm digging it a lot.
Henry Cavill's got that fucking voice down. We knew it from the trailer, but damn, he's got that Geralt presence down.
He does. The choreography is fucking cool. The lore is cool. I've always enjoyed the Witcher lore. I haven't. The games are great. They're just not good with my sense of gaming, so I haven't been able to play through all the games. But I've always found them very interesting. So excited they're doing a Netflix series on it. It looks like it's getting all the dough, which is cool.
It does look very pretty. Like, production values definitely seem to be very strong on it. I feel like the showrunners talked about like a 7-season vision, and it feels like, I mean, hopefully it's getting good viewership, because I feel like Netflix obviously invested in it pretty heavily to begin with.
We never know the viewership of a Netflix series, though. Which
they're always kind of like, well, we can't talk about that, blah, whatever. So we'll see.
Have they really dropped anything though? It's like they spend money on all sorts of shit.
Netflix has a real trend of getting things to 3 seasons before they cancel it. Like, that is their usual MO. Is, we've hit it. We got to get new content on this because that's what drives our users instead of, and it's probably true. I mean, from a business standpoint, you probably do get diminishing returns season to season to season to season. Like, how many people actually stick around for the 10th season of Walking Dead or whatever the fuck they're up to now? You know what I mean?
It's a counter argument, though. I mean, you get yourself a Game of Thrones-esque show.
True, and I think that's the one thing you always hope to have.
So I will be driving traffic, hopefully, to Netflix's Witcher. I will be doing my part.
I haven't actually driven any traffic myself, but that's only because I've watched it with you. So it's been through your account. But we have watched episodes multiple times at this point.
It's true.
Inadvertently.
Yeah.
So that is something to be said. I'm enjoying it. I've read the first collection of short stories of the books of which the series is based off of, as opposed to the video games. Although it obviously is taking a lot of inspiration, I think, from the video games, which
I think
also
it's being kind of fast and loose, right?
I think so, yeah. But I feel like at least Henry Cavill's performance very much feels like it's channeling the Geralt that we saw in the games. Mm-hmm. Even if it is a different, like an earlier version of Geralt.
Is it different
younger
Geralt
version
from your books? Is it different from that?
I don't remember, honestly.
It's been years, right? Since
it's been years, yeah. I read it at least a few years ago, probably 5-ish years ago, I would say. I have most of the books. I physically have them, but I have not read them, which is very similar to my other collections of media that I have of things that I own but have not actually done anything with.
Well,
So,
after The Shining, I will be getting into the audibles of The Witcher. I'm excited. Just into it.
I think that would be a good series to get into. I'm wondering. I think I have a little bit more familiarity with the lore of The Witcher to begin with. I'm not sure if that's true for you. Are you finding the series difficult to track in terms of lore at all? Because I wonder, because it's not, like people keep making this comparison to Game of Thrones, and it's not like Game of Thrones at all, to be honest. It's way more it's proper fantasy. You know what I mean? Like
Game
of Thrones is fantasy light, and then it kind of evolved into being a little bit closer to your traditional fantasy.
No.
But it was a drama first, and I'm not sure that I think this is a fantasy first.
Definitely. As far as tracking it goes, I didn't have a lot of experience in the games.
Okay.
And I definitely don't have any experience in the books. But from what I gather from the show, there's warring kingdoms.
Mm-hmm.
I'm real bad with names in general. So
plus they all have fucking bullshit fantasy names too. So it doesn't help.
But you got warring factions, and then you have a magical. You have people that study magic, and they get appointed to be the advice of the kings. They're in the king's ear, pretty much, and stuff. And I think that's pretty much the gist of it. You also have a witcher who hunts. He's like a mercenary for different people to hunt fucking monsters and stuff.
Monster hunter that's reviled because he's technically a mutant, so he's not quite human.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's regarded badly because he's different. And I think that's pretty much the gist of it, really. There's...
All right. Yeah, I'm just curious. I was mostly asking just in the sense of, do you think that your experience would be reflective of most people's experiences, or do you think that you're maybe more predisposed to this type of shit?
Just because I have been exposed to it a little bit?
Like, I just wonder about that. I think Game of Thrones worked and became that mega hit where people were watching season 8, as even more people were watching season 8 than they had watched season 1, because I think it started as a drama first, and I think people could latch onto that even if they didn't really care about dragons and shit.
Right.
Whereas I think this one is kind of like magic and shit, and and monsters, and I wonder if that's going to be too overwhelming for non-fantasy users to kind of respond to. That would be my concern.
It's a Lord of the Rings movie.
Yeah.
People that were...
Lord of the Rings obviously was very wildly successful too, so...
I think I tried to show Sarah, but she didn't have any investment in the first 2 episodes, so she was kind of just...
Which is tough. That's a tough position to be put in.
And we watched the 2 episodes together because I watched them while you were doing your paper.
Yeah.
So, it's one of those things. You got to start it at the beginning, but I think if you started at the beginning, I think you're totally fine. I think people can get into it. It's definitely compelling.
Yeah.
It's a very compelling show. It's very graphic.
Definitely graphic.
And it's, so, that's going to be a thing. It's definitely edgy. So I don't know, but, there's horror elements in it, which is pretty cool. There's action elements, which is cool. There's fantasy. The show's a fantasy movie, so that's cool. But it's really well made. It's got a good budget. It's very well acted. And I am all day long. I've been talking about it. We've been shopping all day long. I just want to watch another episode of The Witcher. I just want to watch it. I want to get rid of it. I want to be done. I also started the first episode of The Expanse.
Season 4.
Yep.
Nice.
And that first episode was good. Haven't gone any deeper. But episode 4 was good. Christmas. We had a Christmas party here. I built a fire pit and I planted a pole in the ground with concrete and a wooden pole and did some string lights and stuff. So also have a functioning garage, which I've been enjoying. Cleaned up my garage. I can push a button and the garage opens. So that's pretty cool. Been parking in the garage. And I think that's it. About to go to Blue Ridge. For Christmas, I got a dirt bike, which is pretty cool. It was a pretty good gift. And I've downloaded some maps. I've got a GPS unit, so I can track elevation and stuff, and I can find waypoints and set waypoints on this Garmin, right here. See?
I see.
And that mounts up on the handlebars of the thing, So I've planned it out. I'm going to go see a waterfall. I found a waterfall that's close by, with some maps and stuff, and just been working a lot of the cartography, and hopefully I should have a pretty good expedition when I go up north. I'm pretty excited about it.
Sounds like fun.
Yeah. Yeah, what have you been up to, man, besides making the trek down south?
You know what? Not a whole lot besides that. Finished with the semester, so I'm now
Congrats.
halfway done with law school officially, which is nice. Definitely a good thing to have behind me.
2 more years?
Year and a half.
Year and a half.
Yeah, I get a year and a half. I'm literally halfway done. So
You gonna be practicing law in Philly? One of the guys at work was asking. You're gonna be your school gets you prepped for the bar exam in that particular state, right?
yeah, I mean, you're always free to take the bar in other states, but most state bars are specifically catered to
that particular state and
specific
laws and
state.
stuff.
So it's advantageous to go into a school in which you are intending to practice law, but it's not necessarily required. So yeah, I'll probably take the Philly bar.
Right.
Or the Pennsylvania bar as opposed to the Philly bar, but
right. Okay, fair enough.
I mean, if I take the Philly bar, might be in the wrong room. I think I might be being swindled out of a lot of money at that point. So yeah, that's, I don't know, but it all kind of depends on how things line up and such. But that aside, it's finally given me the opportunity to do things. You know what I mean? I've been kind of limited in terms of what I can do just because I've been so busy with school stuff. But I've been here now. Witcher we talked about. I've obviously watched the 3 with you. I started Crisis on Earth X on the plane ride down. The first of the 4-part crossover.
Does that mean you're caught up to the point of this one?
No, this is the crossover from 2 years ago. Still.
Oh,
so
shit.
I'm so
Okay.
fucking behind. It's ridiculous. I think I've progressed exactly like 1 episode or 2 episodes maybe since we talked about Knives Out. So my progress has been slowed, but I do think it'll be a little bit better. I think moving forward. Mandalorian, we're one away from being done with the Mandalorian. Maybe that's something that we'll have the time to talk about more fully when it does finish up. I think we both really enjoyed the series thus far. This past episode 7, I think we both enjoyed quite a bit.
Yeah.
Good way of kind of
bringing it back,
bringing
around.
the series back to a teeing up a really cool conclusion. We hope. So yeah, it's kind of just been traveling, settling in, doing work. I had a little bit of work to do when I got here, obviously, and finished that up. So now I'm really kind of in the clear, I hope, for a little while. So started Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening on the Switch, which I've had sitting on the shelf for a couple weeks now, and finally had the chance to boot it up on the flight home. Well, not home, but my home away from home.
Home away from home. You got a room here.
So yeah, I'm just kind of chilling, enjoying the holidays. Ready for Christmas to come along. Family's going to be in town, so I'm looking forward to seeing everyone. Noah's looking forward to obviously seeing you for at least a few days here on the front end of my trip. So, and I'm in Florida, so it's I'm wearing a long sleeve shirt, and by golly, that almost is too warm for today's weather. So. It's a very different beast than it is up north. Let's just say that. So yeah, it's been pretty low key. Like I said, I'm ready to revel in my vacation that has now finally arrived. So here I am.
That's it. Good deal, man. That's it.
I think that's it for the episode. What do you think?
That's it.
All right. Well, thank you all for listening. If you enjoyed what you heard, please spread the word. If you would be so kind. So let's see. We've got the Star Wars stuff coming up soon. We are available on Patreon right now. We have the Evil Dead episode that is still technically a timed exclusive up there. We meant to have it up for the regular listeners ages ago, but editing fell by the wayside as school ramped up. So it is what it is. We'll have lots of content coming out for Patreon, certainly in the new year. But as of now, it's a little bit, it is what it is. Patreon.com/watchreviewrepeat. If you guys enjoy what you hear and you want to help out, feel free. But again, I can't promise anything in the way of bonus content at the current moment. So don't feel totally obliged. Just only if it's coming out of the goodness of your heart. What else do we usually say at the end of the episode?
Ladies on the Minjay? No, that's not mine. Take care now. Bye bye then.
Well, we're not quite there yet. I don't want to.
Yeah.
I want to, give credit where credit is due. I usually have a script in front of me, but I was winging it, and I was like, oh shit, I actually don't remember. 100 plus times in, I don't remember what I'm supposed to say at this point. Watchreviewrepeat.com is our website. Follow us on Twitter at WRRPod. Like us on Facebook at Watch Review Repeat. Questions, comments, and suggestions can be sent to our Gmail account, watchreviewrepeat@gmail.com. Intro and outro track is Mechanolith by Kevin MacLeod, licensed under the Creative Commons by Attribution 3.0 license. And as I mentioned multiple times now, Star Wars, we're hoping to have a big franchise episode next, and then we'll follow that up with our big Rise of Skywalker coverage. And we kept this one on the shorter side, and I don't think we'll be able to keep that one on the shorter side.
No.
So be prepared for some monstrosities. Hopefully we have some good conversations coming soon. So look forward to that. Until then, everyone, again, have a great Christmas. If Christmas has already happened by the time you're listening to this, hopefully it was great. Happy holidays. Thank you guys for supporting us. We will see you next time. And Andrew will say,
take care now. Bye-bye then.
Laters on the Menjay.